Hi, I'm Brett Johnson, former United States most wanted cybercriminal, now good guy, and host of the Brett Johnson Show on YouTube. Today's episode, guess what? Oh, yeah, we got a real special guest today. Justin Pierce is coming back with us. He's going to talk all about why we shouldn't be using TikTok. Justin, how are you, man?
Hey, Brett, how are you?
I'm doing okay, dude. How's everything going in Arkansas?
It's going, man. I'm glad to be back.
I'm glad to have you back, man. And you know, the last time you were here, it seems to me that the person that talked the most is the person that's talking right now.
So, well, it's your show, dude.
Well, just because it's my show don't mean I need to just keep going and going and going. I mean, I could probably cut out 90% of the shit I say. So with that being said, you're gonna tell me why. See, I already got it fired up, man. Yeah, I already got the TikTok fired up. So you're going to tell me why I don't need to be just flipping through this to, oh, there's another nice little video right there.
Back here, Brett.
Oh, yeah. I'm so sorry about that. So why don't I need to be using the TikTok?
Well, that's a very multifaceted answer. There's several answers and reasons. You know, we talk about how we're the type of guys that read through terms of services and privacy policies and things like that. Well, very few people do. And if people would just, they agreed to, it would just, in most cases, when I've read this to people, is just shock them and uninstall immediately.
Well, why don't you read some of it to me? Let's see.
Okay, I have it right here.
He's like, I got it right here. You know, oddly enough, I got to tell you, I've been so hooked on the talk. I call it the talk because it's like my friend. So I've been so hooked on the talk that I've not read the terms of service. I have read a lot of articles over the past few days, though.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
And Joe Rogan brought it up on his podcast. So that brought a lot of awareness and
it
got
did.
people talking about it as well.
We like Rogan talking about shit like that.
Yeah.
All right, man, shoot it.
Fan. Okay. You know, it's banned in India and all of U.S. military.
Right.
I'm just going to give a little start before I read this. The FCC commissioner, one of the 5, is really trying to get it in America. Like, he's really pressing for it. He put out a statement asking Apple and Google to take it off their stores, their mobile app stores, and they refused to do so. So now he's government action.
So Apple and Google Alphabet both refused to remove it.
Right. And we talked before, you know, the FCC is normally slow on things like this. They're normally a little behind the times. So, you know, that should say something as well.
I mean, you're right. If you're waiting on the FCC to do anything.
Yeah. But I like this guy. I should have wrote his name down.
Bernard Carr.
And so he just keeps going on about how it's a national security issue with, you know, the whole United States.
Right.
Here's just what's in their policy. Just some things that it's not the whole thing, but some things I outlined.
Sure.
And this is in their privacy policy, spelled out plain as day. All right. It collects info from your device, the IP address, user agent, mobile carrier, time zone settings, identifiers for advertising purposes. I have that in quotes.
Okay.
Model of device, network type, screen resolution, operating system, app and file names and types.
Okay.
Keystroke patterns or rhythms.
So it's got a keylogger on it.
Audio settings, connected audio devices. They can identify your activity across devices, which means they build a profile based on all this data they collect, and they build a virtual profile of you.
Okay.
They get all your contacts from social media and on your phone. Location data based on your SIM card, IP address, and GPS. May collect information about the images and audio that are in the part of your user content, which means the stuff, if you make a TikTok and upload this, they can grab anything out of the background, identify your surroundings, the whole environment, objects and scenes that appear, existence, location within an image of face and body features. They build biometric data on each person. And attributes, the nature of the audio, and the text of the words spoken in your user content.
Okay.
We may collect this information to enable special video effects for content moderation, for demographic classification, for content, and ad recommendations. So they hide behind that a lot, saying that it's all for ad purposes or the algorithm.
Well, yeah, they're, you know, the algorithm's pretty good.
Yeah, it is. But
have you used it? Have you?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not talking about something I don't have any experience with. I've used it before. And if people send me a TikTok, like my sister sent me one the other day, you can watch it through your browser. You don't have to have an account. You don't have to have the app, any of that. You can just.
I know it's great. It's great. So I gotta say. So I've got TikTok on. I've got I don't know 5-6 different devices.
Mm-hmm.
I've got TikTok on all of those devices, and that algorithm, man, it still blows my mind. So I've got the cars, I've got the comedians, Dave Chappelle and all that kind of stuff on there. I got the comedians that go through the feed, and then I do have what would best be classified as not safe for work content. Because it turns out, you're flipping and the damn thing, it'll throw one of these little videos out there. And I got it. I flip. I'm like, and I just pause for a second and I'm like, and that's all it takes. And then 3 more flips down the line, there's another not safe for work. And I'm like, and before you know it, I got a lot of that content on my talk.
And I experienced the same thing with YouTube. Like, YouTube knows me and knows what I like to watch. Oh, yeah. They also have YouTube Shorts. Instagram has Reels. So there's other places, and they record a lot of stuff too. Say what you want about, everybody gathers data. But at least they're American. It's kept on American soil. And it's
that's one of the things that's interesting to me. So you don't think Michael Beckerman, he's the VP of public relations over at TikTok.
Yeah, I just watched this whole Senate thing. Yeah.
Okay. So he said that, I think it was October 21st or August 21st of last year. He was hey, October. Yeah, we don't, TikTok don't do that.
Yeah.
And then, so let me pull that up because it's.
It was also, they did one as part of the children, like the Senate Committee on Children using, apps like that. Yeah.
So what I saw is basically this thing right here, leaked audio from 80 internal TikTok meetings shows that U.S. user data has been repeatedly accessed from China. So obviously, Mr. Beckerman is either being dishonest or he just doesn't friggin' know.
And, I'm not sure which that is, honestly, on his part.
Because here's one of the quotes, and I'll have all these articles in the show notes as well. But one of the quotes says, and this is from a TikTok employee, I feel like with these tools, there's some backdoor to access user data in almost all of them. That is absolutely crazy.
Yeah. And they supposedly had an independent security audit saying otherwise, before the video came out. Yeah. But they paid,
supposedly. So,
and here's, another issue outside of that's even more disturbing. Even if data is going to China, Brett, that's not illegal. The United States doesn't have data sovereignty or data laws like Europe. Any platform in Europe, like Facebook, Microsoft, that's why they all have to have servers over there, because European data cannot leave any of the European countries. Exactly. The United States is wide. We have no laws like that.
Well, that's one of the interesting things that this episode, and I'm going to do another episode because I guess you read the article about Facebook turning over. They basically snitched out a teenager that had an abortion.
So really?
Oh, yeah. Michigan authorities, they sent a subpoena over to Facebook saying, hey, we want all of these text messages from this teenager who was talking about getting an abortion. Yeah. And of course, you've got, the thing is that from a law enforcement perspective, Facebook has to answer the subpoena. Oh, yeah. So, and this goes into this idea of privacy, of sovereignty, of everything else that's going on. It's not only that, but, I don't know if you read about ICE, they're using cell phone tracking data to see the movement of all these people, whether they're being suspect or not. They're seeing all that. And you got this across the entire U.S. government agencies. And there's a difference. You're right. There's a big difference between when a U.S. company does it or the U.S. government does it, even though I firmly disagree with both. there's a big difference between when that happens and when the Chinese government does it.
Yeah, we have enough issues, within the United States with all that, let alone a country who doesn't wish us well at all.
No, I mean, especially after, the puppet master herself, Nancy P. Pelosi,
Dude,
landed that plane.
People don't realize what an issue that was. Up all their citizens saying that we're going to shoot her plane down, and then to not, that really hurt them bad, and that's why they're having all that show right now.
I mean, they lost a lot of face
and killing all the fish.
Yeah, they did. They lost a lot of face right there. If they were going to come out and say something like that, you've got to do something. I'm not saying you gotta fire a missile, but by God, you can't let that shit lay.
Yeah, they put themselves in a bad spot. There's people so upset. Like, there's videos online of Chinese dudes just beating themselves in the face because they're so embarrassed and ashamed of what happened.
I mean, and rightfully so. I mean, she basically made China her bitch.
Yeah.
That's, anybody's ever been to prison, that's the word that you don't want to hear right there.
Right. And as they constantly say, don't cross the line, and people keep crossing it and nothing happens.
Yeah. So, I mean, so I got to tell you, and I made the comment, I guess you probably watched the show, that, I don't know anybody in Taiwan, but I like my talk.
Well, and another big thing about Taiwan is TSMC, who makes almost all of our computer chips. They're like, they don't design their own, they build chips for other companies. All the biggest companies with anything involved in chips, except make them themselves. They make chips for NVIDIA, all the cell phone guys. I mean, the list goes on and on. And they're building a plant in America, but it's nothing compared to the size of the ones they have in Taiwan.
Okay.
I'm not saying, Taiwan's worth saving just because of that. They're worth saving because they're democracy and they want to be free. And,
and look, I agree with that. I recognize Taiwan much as Tom Cruise does in Top Gun 2. It is a free state, period. All right. Whether China likes that shit or not, I don't think that we need to continue to bow down to them because Taiwan just happens to be 100 miles off the coast.
Right.
All right.
And they've never been a part of the Chinese Communist Party. They actually, they come back. They've never been a part of that.
Right. And that's and I want to talk about Taiwan in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
For TikTok, you were talking about some of the stuff that they were recording. I've got the FCC letter pulled up. I'll go through some of those bullet points here in a minute. But what's interesting to me now, certainly Michael Beckerman, the PR, what he says is not inaccurate. All right. So that data and that information that they capture, that browser fingerprint, the biometrics, everything else, that is absolutely a security tool that's used across the industry to recognize users that are coming in, be able to profile who the attackers are, or to deliver ad experiences, things like that. He's absolutely right on that. But he also makes the comment, and I was trying to find the article, I can't find it, but he makes the comment that the only stuff that, TikTok captures is not really of interest to a nation state, that it's just social media.
Yeah.
So I started to think about that and walk me through this.
Okay. That's a crock because they collect vastly more than everybody else, way more than YouTube, way more than Instagram, way more than Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to a third of what all they do collect. It's just ridiculous.
Right.
And they use these things they say the ads and the algorithm and all that. Well, I think, okay, why China would be interesting to a nation state? Well, they bought a controlling interest in ByteDance, who owns TikTok, not that long. They have a seat at the shareholders, at the board of the company.
Right.
So they have a vested interest. One of the senators, the lady, she had blonde hair. I don't recall her name, but she asked him directly about that. And he denied that the Chinese Republican Party, not Republican Party, Communist Party.
I don't know, man. You made a little Freudian slip there.
and I leaned the other way, so that was a mistake. But that the Chinese Communist Party was, he denied that they have a seat at the table, and she goes, it's factual. I have, my research, and we know.
Well, yeah,
for a fact.
ByteDance has absolutely. They answer to the PRC. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so all of this data would be very important to them. They're freezing the accounts and basically stealing the money of their own citizens. So if they have all your payment data, if it came down to it, why not do it to you too?
Well, and going back to, let me highlight this here. I'm going to share that so everybody can see. So this is the same article again from BuzzFeed, and this is part of the captured conversations, the private conversations between TikTok.
I read the same one, yeah.
So everything is seen in China, said a member of TikTok's Trust and Safety Department in a September 2021 meeting. Everything is seen in China. So going into what Beckerman was talking about, you're capturing all of this data. What can, because I've been putting some thought into that shit. Yeah. What can that data actually tell the PRC, the Chinese government?
Everything.
Absolutely everything. And when we're talking about that, so understand it can identify who the troops are. That there's enough information out there. When I first started just my legal career, like 5-6 years ago, Target was good enough at that point, Target was good enough at that point that they could tell by your shopping experience if you were pregnant, if you were about to hit your menstrual cycle, if you were about to get married. They knew all that shit sometimes before you did.
Yeah.
So that's 5-6 years ago. And back then, data was not nearly as refined or captured like it is, certainly by something like TikTok.
Right. And also, as a whole, the whole world is involved in what's called an information warfare. And so I believe that all these algorithms that TikTok specifically uses aren't just automated. I think different weights and sticks are thrown to the game. Not that they're on one side or the other, but they feed each side. So we'll just keep arguing with each other.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
You talk about that algorithm, and that's one of the things that, and I think I mentioned that, or I may have cut it out of the show, but that algorithm is so damn good that, so you got a spouse, you got a boyfriend, you got a girlfriend, whatever the hell it is. You want to know what shit they doing. You want to know what their mindset is. Just grab their phone, look at their TikTok feed.
Yeah.
That'll tell you if they think they're having trouble with their marriage, if they're cheating, if they're happy-go-lucky, what their worries or fears or desires, everything else will. Just that feed alone. It is it truly is. It's an extraordinary algorithm, the way it works. And it's so good, going back to that, it can determine things like troops, who the troops are, when the troops are being deployed, who the troops' families are. You can they
use this in conjunction with other tools that I'll get into in a little bit when we talk about espionage.
Well, you got facial recognition. That's a fact. They do that. They've admitted to that.
Yeah. They recognize objects, in the background here, like that TV dresser thing.
So you've got all this data, and that's just on the troop movement. You can figure out who the intelligence people are, who the government operatives are, where they're being deployed. So because troops, you take the Navy, for example, when they're about to go out on deployment, they don't tell anybody where the hell they're going. They don't share that at all. Now, their family, certainly their immediate family, they know where the hell they're going. All right.
Absolutely.
So you get the wife or the husband of one of these soldiers that's being deployed. What do? They hit the talk and they start looking up, this country.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the Chinese government, they already know that this is a military family. They're wondering where they're going. So they're capturing that type of data. This is the type of stuff that you can determine from social media, something that Michael Beckerman thinks it's not important.
Also, who's more apt to take some money for some information?
You look, exactly. With that, let's go over. So I'm going to share this. Oh my God, I'm glad you mentioned money. I'm glad that I like money. I do.
Yeah.
But I would not sell out my country for money.
Government.
Yeah. So this is the letter that the FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr.
That's him.
Yep. He sent over to Apple and the Google saying, hey, this is pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
I'm making it a shorter version. It's fucked up is basically what he says. But he's talking about everything that's going on through leaked recordings last week. BuzzFeed's news report revealed ByteDance officials in Beijing have repeatedly accessed the sensitive data that TikTok has collected from Americans. All right. So that's the first page. But he's got some bullet points, and I wanted to just go through those with you, and we could talk about that shit. So he says last week's news report only adds to an overwhelming body of evidence that TikTok presents a serious national security threat. And I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
And as relevant to this letter, it also underscores TikTok's failure to comply with the data security requirements and other terms set forth in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store policies. Some of the concerning evidence. August 2020. TikTok circumvented a privacy safeguard in Google's Android operating system to obtain data that allowed it to track users online.
I think this had to do with the clipboard. It can have all access to your clipboard and all that, which copy and paste, etc.
Which is pretty, I mean, again, that's pretty important. The type of stuff that we put on our clipboard, take notes about, and everything else saved, it gives access to that. It also
passwords, PIN codes.
Right. So here, this is the next one right here. This goes into this money thing. So this is something that people really need to be concerned about. In March 2020, researchers discovered that TikTok, through its app in the Apple App Store, was accessing users' most sensitive data, including passwords, cryptocurrency addresses, and personal messages. Now think about that. In the United States, we've got supposedly a 16% adoption rate for cryptocurrency. Yeah. TikTok is used by over 1 billion people, a shitload of Americans, self-included, and it captures the wallet addresses, the passwords. The chances of it capturing, depending on the wallet that you're using, the chances of it capturing the key to that wallet, 100%, 100%. Yeah. So that's a problem. Yeah, that's a huge issue. And if it's reading, so okay, I've got access to some shit. All right, sure. But you take somebody, regular Joe on the street, are they going to be worried about their personal messages? I mean, history has shown us, no, they're not. Snowden bitched about this stuff. Nobody really listened to the dude at all. Right. Now we've got a nation state that's not the United States that's doing exactly what Snowden had warned everybody about. And I'm not sure we're still worried about that.
Well, and to just wrap all this stuff that they have access into a whole, you're basically giving them the keys to do anything on your phone or computer or tablet or any device you have. So they can get in and get anything if they wanted. Now, not to say that they're doing this all the time, but if it came down to it, if the final straw, if it had been the final straw on any kind of thing between the United States and China, they could just go in and, government officials, whoever, and take complete control of the phone. They could record on the microphone, the camera. Right. I mean, it's basically like having a rat. Or
you give them permission when you sign on to the app to access the mic.
Yeah.
Access the mic, access the camera. So, and that the possibility of them turning that on if things get, shit hits the fan. Oh yeah. Right. Yeah, absolutely that would happen. Here's the third bullet point. 2021, TikTok agrees to pay $92 million to settle lawsuits alleging that the app clandestinely vacuumed up and transferred to servers in China vast quantities of private and personal user data. So they admitted it. Yeah, we're doing that. And they settled. And still they're allowed to operate in the United States.
And they're allowed to do all that still because users agree to it. There's not much, any a court or anything can say if the user agreed to it.
And that's that's one of the things, right? I mean, in the United States, and that's the weird shit about our country. You go over to Europe, you go to the EU, you go to the UK, privacy.
The big
citizens
deal.
There, they care about privacy.
Big deal.
Us, give me something free. I don't give a damn.
Yeah. Yeah. Accept all the cookies, all that.
Right. And I honestly, Justin, I don't understand why we're like that in the United States. I don't.
It's gonna get too lax, man. It's gonna bite us in the ass.
I mean, it already has.
Yeah.
It really has. Like I said, I'm going to do a show on the abortion stuff and the tracking of our cell phone data and all that. But you think about it, you know, the majority of U.S. citizens has been so just uncaring about their privacy. And now we're seeing what that's actually resulting in. You know, you've got the government that's buying from third-party suppliers cell phone data in order to figure out where everyone is every point in time. You've got Facebook and big tech that's turning over data to prosecutors because, hey, this person wants or needs to get an abortion. And I don't care I don't really give a shit what anybody's feelings are on abortion. I personally think that I forgot who the comedian was that was saying it, but he was like, you know, a woman should be allowed to do whatever she wants to with her body. I believe that completely. I was down with that when he said that. Then he said, but I still believe you're killing a baby. And I was like,
I'm kind of the same way.
Yep. Believe that shit too.
Yeah. It's hard, man, to really zone in on how you feel about that and what's right or wrong, you know.
But again,
I
that's the United States.
Separate myself and being like, hey, I'm not a female. I've never experienced that. Leave it up to them.
No, exactly. And you know, I'll talk about that. I may bring you back on so we can record some of that stuff together on that.
Okay.
But you know, let's get back to these bullet points for a minute, because I want to dive into. We'll run through these bullet points pretty quick. Fourth bullet point: BuzzFeed investigation identified a master admin located in Beijing that has, quote, access to everything. So again, a fact that the PRC has access to every single thing that's being captured on TikTok, regardless of what Michael Beckerman says. And I think that Michael Beckerman honestly doesn't know.
Right. And they get caught up in the issue of whether the data is stored here or in China. Well, that really doesn't matter. Even if it's all stored here, they can still have access to it just like it was sitting there.
Absolutely. Does not matter where that friggin' box is.
Yeah.
They can still get access to it. You're absolutely right. All right. So in March 22, a report included current and former TikTok employees stating in interviews that TikTok delegates key decisions to ByteDance officials in Beijing, and that an employee was asked to enter sensitive info into a .cn domain, which of course is the top domain for the Chinese Ministry of Industry. So again, more data there going over and evidence of that. Earlier in 2019, TikTok paid $5.7 million to settle Federal Trade Commission allegations that its predecessor app illegally collected personal data on children. So they're also stealing children's data.
Yeah.
Well, not stealing, because we're giving it to them
user
free.
Profiles on the kids too.
Here's what you said earlier, and this is kind of interesting. Actually, it's more than interesting. India, the world's largest democracy, has already banned TikTok for security grounds and for stealing and transmitting user data in an unauthorized manner. So India,
and they're supposed to be kind of buddy with China too. Right. So even they're against this.
Multiple U.S. military branches have also banned TikTok: Navy, Army, Air Force, Coast Guard, Marine Corps. Wow. So hey, if you're part of these military groups, you're not allowed to use TikTok, and the reason goes into exactly what I was talking about. They can determine who the members of the family are, troop deployments, when you're going on deployment, how long you're staying, all this other stuff if you're a military service member. So
correct. And who knows, you know, how close the watch is on that. I guarantee you some of them are still using it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree completely with that. What else we got? U.S. government officials have also urged troops and their dependents to erase the app from their personal phones. I bet they have. Yeah. And I know for a fact, I know some service members that, no, we like to talk.
Right.
So U.S. national security agencies have similarly banned TikTok. That includes the DOD, Department of Homeland Security, TSA, the Republican National Committee, and the DNC. Something they're both on the same page about, have warned campaigns about using TikTok based on security concerns.
And that ought to carry some weight.
It should. You know, they're worried about Russia capturing, you know, hacking into the DNC, and meanwhile, you're giving permission to China to do it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Citing data security concerns, private U.S. businesses operations have banned TikTok, including Wells Fargo. So again, financial industry is well aware of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Final bullet point: once accessed by personnel in Beijing, there is no check on the CCP using the extensive private and sensitive data about U.S. users for espionage activities because compliance with PRC's 2017 National Intelligence Law is mandatory in China. So if you have a business like ByteDance in China, it is mandatory that you do whatever the hell they tell you to do.
Oh, absolutely. Any, company in China, they're going to have, they're connected to the government in some way, but ByteDance even more so because they have a vested interest and they're on the board.
Right.
They have a voting share.
Which is crazy.
Yeah,
So
it is.
So
and the platform itself, the algorithms, all that are developed in China. The senators were asking that guy, this question, was it all developed in China? And he kept saying, oh, we have engineers everywhere, United States, China.
But it's developed there. It's like the engineer said, or the auditor said, I think it feels like there's a back door to every single aspect of TikTok. And I think he's absolutely right. It seems to me, tell me if I'm wrong. Sometimes I am. So tell me if I'm wrong. Seems to me that there was a former president that was all about banning the talk or getting the talk to sell to a U.S. company. And it seems to me that when that former president got his ass booted out of office, they forgot about getting rid of the talk.
Yeah, and they forgot about being tough on China as a whole.
They did, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, I say that. The FBI came out the other day saying that Chinese espionage has gotten so bad that they've started opening investigations every 12 hours. Now, I would love to believe that they're investing all that.
Well,
it's doing something about this.
And I've been paying attention to that too. And I've got to say, I mean, Trump certainly, he kind of, established how he wanted to view the Chinese. And I agree that, Biden is not anywhere near, well, Biden's like the worst president ever.
He's asleep at the wheel, man.
But he's actually kind of kept on, even though you got the Hunter Biden, stuff that's going on too. He's kind of kept on with that same view as China being, hey, you ain't a friend of ours. So I've got to kind of agree with that. I've got, as much as I dislike the puppet master Nancy P, hey, mad respect.
I can say the same thing, man. I can, and I'm glad that. And then Biden tried to get her not to go.
I know.
If she would announce that she was going and then she didn't go, that would have been horrible.
Oh, yeah.
If we would have backed down from the man like that, it would have been a huge deal.
Absolutely.
And there were more of that coming.
Well, you've got, and I told my wife, this has been, I don't know, probably 6-8 months ago, right as the Ukraine was really ramping up at that point. I was like, well, what happens is you've got the president of China over there. He's watching how we're responding to Ukraine. We're not really doing a whole shitload. We're just kind of, is Ukraine going to win? Should we send some more weapons over there? We're not putting a toe in there. And I'm like, so the president of China is going to watch that shit for about 6 months. He's going to realize the United States ain't going to do shit. And he's going to go over and take over Taiwan.
Well, we're doing, and we learned this from the Russians, proxy wars. Right. Russians did it to us in Afghanistan, Syria. We fight these wars where we have plausible deniability, but we can also make it harder for them to take Ukraine.
And we're doing that.
Taiwan. We make them spend more, so it's what they call fighting a proxy war.
Right.
And it's a war of attrition. Who runs out of stuff first?
Right. But, the issue with Taiwan is, whereas the Ukraine is surrounded by other countries, Taiwan is not. So it's very easy for China to come in, put a blockade up there. You're not delivering any weapons here. We're just going to cut you off, come in, we're going to take you over. And I honestly, I don't know if that's what's going to happen or not. I don't see what actually stops that.
Well, it would take us intervening and other countries intervening, but also, I'm not saying, China obviously has way more people, way more soldiers, way more everything. Taiwan has been preparing for this since like the 40s.
They have.
And so they got the terrain on their side. It's not just like, a beach like Normandy. It's high cliffs, all that. They've got missile sites all over the place. They've got a hell of an Air Force, thanks to us.
Right.
They got, good jets, good pilots, all that. So they could probably put up a decent defense until we got it.
It would be a bloody mess. There's no doubt about it.
It wouldn't be easy for China, no doubt.
Yeah. So,
China also has the biggest navy in the world now.
Biggest, absolutely.
They don't
They've got
have
the biggest
they,
navy.
they haven't passed us in tonnage, but they passed us in number of ships, and their
Right.
shipbuilding is just incredible. How many
Well,
ships?
that's that's because they've stolen all the IP from the United
all
States
of
for
it.
years.
I'll get into. I got some of that too.
Well, go ahead, because
Okay.
I was about to feed into that. Hey, we've been being hit with China for friggin' decades, and we've not done anything about it.
And it's been mostly industrial espionage, so they can skip the research part and just start building. And that's how they'll be able to catch up so fast. But also lately, it's gotten more, militarily in case we ever had to fight them or they had to fight us. Excuse me.
Right.
But yeah. So what really surprised me when I was doing this research for this episode, I saw a lot of spying was going on in America, but I didn't realize how much of it was in the universities. I think almost every prominent university around has had at least one professor arrested for espionage for Chinese.
I would agree with that.
Crazy, dude. I had no, even in my home state, Arkansas, in Fayetteville, they had a guy, 63 years old. He was getting grants from NASA, and he got felony charged for wire fraud because he didn't disclose his ties to the Communist Party of China. He was very
You're right.
close.
I mean, there's a lot of news. It's at the university level. I've seen it in the corporate level. A lot of different corporations that have either, and some, you get some of these corporations that they find this person that's doing this, and they don't prosecute.
I noticed even the ones they do, the punishments aren't as severe as I would have thought they would be.
They usually get them as unregistered agents.
5-10 years, man.
That's it. So it's not. I mean,
that was
Bad.
alarming.
It's pretty bad, and still, I mean, there's Chevy Chase. He's on the top. I mean, I'm sorry, man. Oh, I don't know if you've seen this or not. This is Miss Satan's TikTok feed.
Oh, wow.
Oh, dude. It's I say she. It's probably a he, but I say she. She puts up all these little jokes every day. Like today is you weren't born to just pay your bills and die. You must suffer a lot. So it's like it brings a smile to my face. They call it a selfie because narcissistic is too hard to spell. So I'm sorry. It's addictive.
Credit, man. TikTok was the first to come out with real short feeds like that. YouTube didn't have shorts yet.
Right.
Instagram didn't have reels yet. They all got it from TikTok. And they designed it to be as addictive as possible. It's the #1 app on both app stores. That's slow under FCC pressure. It's the most popular app and platform in the world right now.
Well, I mean, it's killing Facebook without a doubt. It's there's a reason that YouTube puts out the shorts because it's killing YouTube. There's not a doubt in this world. If you see these companies react like that, that's because TikTok has taken a bite out of their business.
Absolutely.
So, here's my question. How do we get anybody to care about that? And hey, I joke around about TikTok. I do. I do have to delete the damn thing, but it is addictive as hell.
Absolutely.
It's fun. And I don't even use social media, but the damn thing is fun. So how do we get people? We've said everything. I mean, there shouldn't be a doubt in anyone's mind that the Chinese government is getting this data and using it against United States citizens to make our lives worse in order to cause us harm. There's not a doubt in this world about that.
Yeah. And
so how do we get people to care?
It's just an elaborate trap, man. And it's giving people this thought of, here, I can get my 15 minutes of fame. They're obsessed with being, get 10 views or whatever.
Right.
And so it's just an elaborate trap. And I think the way we get people to care is, it's going to be difficult, but bring awareness. There's a lot of people have no clue that as soon as I start reading some of this privacy policy, they're like, oh my God, I had no idea.
I mean, you're right. And hey, I know people. I know some of the powers that be at TikTok, and I can tell you that they're good people. Now, that's not on the Chinese side.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I can believe that for sure.
They're good people, and they work hard to make sure that fraud and crime doesn't happen like that. But I really believe that I believe it's a combination of things. I believe that first, they're not aware. All right. That this is being said, but they just don't see it from their side. But I also believe that it's the blinders that have been put on we don't want to see it because this is our career. This is what we're doing for business and everything. And it goes into what I've been talking about the past, I don't know, dozen or so episodes. We've got a whole group of people that will not say the stuff that needs to be said, that will not call somebody or a company out because they're scared of losing a job. They're scared of losing a contract, a client, any number of things like that. We've got to get to this point where we do things simply because it's the right goddamn thing to do.
Yeah. And it's, preventing another country from seriously harming us or worse. TikTok doesn't exist in China. They have their own version, which ByteDance also makes, but it's not quite the same. I think they have time limits on a lot of it, especially for children.
Yeah, they just raised the time. Oh, yeah, time limits for children. Absolutely. China makes sure that you don't engage too much in video games, in social media. They've got all that shit controlled.
Yeah,
here in the United States, not so much.
Yeah, and any activism or protest is immediately shut down. I saw the other day a guy announced that he was going to have a protest the next day in favor of the CCP, not against them, in favor for them. He goes out there with his sign the next day, Brett, and an SUV pulls up and two guys get out and throw him in there, and he hasn't been heard from since. Dude, so they don't even support protests for people in favor of them.
No, they don't want to see that shit. They don't want to see anything that is outside of that established line, either toward the positive or toward the negative. Because once you get that, it just means that line starts to wave more and more until it gets out of control. So they want to make sure they keep control of everything. And for those who don't remember, you have this thing called Tiananmen Square.
Yeah,
and it would really pay people. We've all seen the pictures of the guy that's standing in front of the tank, but very few of us have seen the pictures of the bodies that were ran over by tanks and by trucks and just the meat that was left on that pavement.
Yep.
It would,
and what was edited really afterwards and put out.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know, Justin, I don't know how we get people to care about that. This is one of these problems that I think is indicative of the United States. It takes the power, since we as citizens, the most of us, we don't care. We're going to continue using the social media because we're addicted to it, because it's fun, because we don't see on the back end the damage that's being done.
Right.
So it takes regulation. It takes the powers that be, like Google, like Apple, like the United States government, to come in and say, no, this stops here.
Right.
So
I think people are going to have a meltdown if they do that with TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
Too.
A billion of them? Absolutely. You've got a shitload of U.S. citizens that use that every single day.
They're going to make a living from it, and I have sympathy for them too. Use another platform, dude.
You got YouTube Shorts now. I uploaded one video to TikTok the other day, and I'm like, I can't do it, man. I can't do it.
I get it for a lot of these YouTube creators such as yourself. They use TikTok just to promote their YouTube channel.
Absolutely.
And I can understand that too, man, but there's got to be.
That was my idea, but I'm one of these guys, I do have a conscience. I used to not. or my conscience, swayed greatly. But these days I'm like, I put it up there and I was like, man, I can't. So I've not uploaded anything since that point. I fired that.
I'm proud of you, man.
Well, I fired TikTok up today, and I've got to delete the damn thing. I'm sure that Miss Satan, as much as I enjoy Miss Satan, I'm sure that she'll migrate her ass, or he'll migrate his ass over to the YouTube shorts.
Sure.
And the two guys sitting in the chair, the best joke I've heard from them is one looks at the other and he says, "My wife asked me if I'd seen the dog bowl. I said I didn't know he could." And I saw that. I was like, it's great. So I'm sure that those two guys will find their way over to YouTube as well. What I would say,
man,
anybody that's watching this, I like the damn thing too. I do. But the truth of the matter is that whether we like it or not, we have to understand that this is something that is not just mentally toxic, that it takes away from us actually doing healthy things in real life.
Oh yeah.
It's not just mentally toxic. It's toxic to the degree that you've got an entire government that is using it to target you specifically to make
Yep.
your life worse.
And they just have these troves of data, man. There's no telling. We probably can't imagine what they could do with it in the future.
geez.
They can just release all these AI algorithms on it and machine learning. I mean,
Well, and just to
if they even
just
stop today, just think about all the data they have.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I pulled up, just looking for the stuff that we were going to talk about today. Pulled and it just happened to pop up in the Google search. So a few other things. TikTok is still promoting banned Russian content to users, so they're shadow promoting it, even though it's banned. TikTok continues to do that. That's not one. TikTok told moderators to suppress posts by ugly people and the poor to attract new users. So you've got a whole host of stuff that is beyond even that. It's like, hey, no, we're gonna push this Russian stuff toward you anyway, even though it's banned. We're still gonna backdoor it and get it to you like that. We're still going to we want to make sure that the people who use TikTok, those people who trend, those people who are very popular, are pretty. We need to make sure that they're popular
and dance and all that.
Right. So we don't want to show anything bad. We just want to show the good, which feeds into in the United States on Instagram, you've got a whole shitload of kids that get an improper image of what someone is supposed to do. Right. And that's the exact same thing that TikTok's feeding into as well. So it's toxic on so many friggin' levels that really, anybody that's watching this, please take the time out to delete TikTok. Go over to YouTube. All right. I've been using YouTube exclusively the past few weeks, except for today when I fired it up, the talk up. But YouTube's got the shorts. They've got the longer videos. I've actually been using, like I said, my channel is exclusively on YouTube. I'm probably going to upload some of it over to Spotify as well.
Yeah.
But, find a channel. And you're right, Justin. You said, hey, the U.S., you got companies that kept your data and information too. I disagree with that. But it's the U.S. that's doing it. It's your own country that's doing that. And there's a big difference, even though, I've got some problems with a lot of stuff that we're doing with that data. There's a difference when the U.S. does it to you and when a Chinese government does it to you. There's a huge, huge difference. China is not our ally. They are not our friend at all. And I think they would easily tell you that.
Yeah. Especially right now.
What any advice you've got for people policy,
out there? You're also agreeing for them to send it wherever they want, either to China or to other what they call research partners.
Right.
Now, there's no telling where all this data is going and who's using it for what.
I mean, they're using it for whatever they want to.
Yeah.
So they're using it. Of course, they're using it for profit. We know that. They're using it to make the program better. Absolutely. But they're also using it. The Chinese government isn't worried about profit. They're not worried about making the user experience better, except if it gets them more data on you.
Right. It's a information warfare. It's a chess match, man. I mean, it's crazy what all is involved.
So wrap it up for us. What kind of advice have you got? Where do you see things going?
Well, I'm Android all the way. I'll never own Apple product. You wouldn't catch one of my.
I'm an Android guy too.
I've been an Apple hater since the early 90s. I mean, my hatred goes way back. But I also wanted to mention at least the whole, and I'm not going to say this right, but Huawei scandal. HUAWEI.
Oh yeah, the cell phone provider or manufacturer.
Yeah, and I knew they were banned from our 5G networks.
Yeah,
but I didn't realize they were so entrenched in our 4G networks, especially in rural areas. Like the United States is trying to raise money for this fund to go in and replace, because these smaller rural telephone providers don't have the funds to just go replace all this equipment just because the United States says it's not secure.
Absolutely.
And it's not. They can absolutely steal all this data that's running through these routers, these, all the equipment that's on the tower, all of that. And it's so entrenched in these networks.
And we're getting, I got an ad
bad
the other day from Verizon. I'm in Birmingham, Alabama. So I got an ad from Verizon. I'm going to be able to switch my entire home, instead of having that wired cable connection coming in through for internet service, I'm going to be able to switch the entire home over to 5G service,
Yeah.
which is it's $25 a month. So I save like $100
Wow.
on that. The service is much faster. There's the lag time, the ping rates significantly lower. So it's the smart move, and it's vastly superior than the cable service that's coming in. But depending on who's making that 5G service, you're right.
Well, luckily they pretty much they caught it before we got into the 5G build out. Right. So any that was 5G, it wasn't much, and they ripped it out. So it's all. I think they got the situation handled on the 5G.
Yeah, that's
a lot of 4G
banned in the US, from what I understand. At least for now, it's banned.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we got. You think we're just screwed?
I don't know, man. And all these, professors from these universities, all of them in the military industrial complex. You have guys for Lockheed Martin, Raytheon. They got charged with espionage. Retired CIA intelligence officials that are selling data to China.
Right.
I mean, it's just unending. And
I tell you what, why don't we're gonna close out this episode, but I like talking to you about shit like this. Well, there's a guy. There's always a guy. There's a guy on YouTube. His name is Yuri Bezmenov, Besmenov. All right. He's a former KGB operative who defected to the United States. And there's some videos of him giving interviews in the 80s. And he talks about how specifically the Russian government is looking to destroy the United States, how they target capitalist countries. If you don't mind, because I've been wanting to do that show for a while, if you don't mind, why don't you take the time out and start reading up on Yuri? I've been reading on Yuri for about a year and a half. I'm well versed on the guy. But if you'll take the time to read on him, you and I will do a show where we're talking about Yuri Bezmenov.
Okay. Also, Danny from Concrete had, I wish I could remember his name. His name's Jack something. He was also defected. He was in America working for the KGB.
Really?
He got married and had a child, and they wanted him to come back, and he refused to come back because he loved his daughter, and he's an American now.
Well, why? If you can remember his name, shoot his name over to me.
He was on.
We'll do a trifecta meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think it's important, man. I really do. I think that because of, you've got these outside governments like China that are targeting us. Russia's doing the same thing. North Korea is doing this. Iran, all these other governments are doing this. But you've got these ingrained types of attacks that are going on as well that start at the academic level and go on through corporate and everything like that. I really think that we need to start talking about that as well. And it's got a cyber aspect to it. So
have you heard about BRICS?
No, I've not.
It's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They started this several years ago. They're going to start their own reserve currencies. They can buy.
I have read about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they all have a similar thing in common, is they hate the United States.
Yeah. I mean, there's an issue.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
just away from the US dollar completely.
All right. So delete our talk. Be aware of all this bullshit that's going around. What else do we need to do? We need to cry out to our representatives and tell them, hey,
and tell your friends. Awareness is the key, man.
Right. So you got somebody, it's like you got some, again, it's an addiction. You got a friend that, their paycheck's going up their nose with powder. You're going to take the time out to say, hey, buddy, maybe you want to get off that shit. TikTok is the powder of the digital world. Right. So if you see a buddy that's using that, you might want to say, hey, buddy, there are healthier choices than that shit.
And obviously we didn't get to everything. It gets way worse. So
hey, we got a couple minutes. Dive into it, man.
People
scare us to death.
Okay. I was going to say people can, do their own research as well.
No, shit, no. Scare me to death.
Okay.
Put the fear of God in me.
I did have his name, Brendan Carr.
All right.
He says it's a serious threat to national security, and this is the more stuff that they collect.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Biometric identifiers and biometric information is defined under U.S. laws, such as face prints, voice prints from your user content. They may seek any required permissions from you prior to any such collection. Which, if they pop up anything asking for, most people aware are going to hit yes.
Right. Because you want to get to the video, you want to continue the user experience. So it asks you, and I've had it pop up on mine. What languages do you speak? Why the hell do you care?
Right.
What's your birthday? Why do you need to know my birthday for me to go through your little short 6-second videos? You don't.
And why do they track everything, all these things outside the app? Like they follow all your web activity. They collect monster cookies that have all this data, and they just follow you around the internet.
Yeah, and pay attention to that, because and again, this is how they argue that. They say it's a security tool. You're right. That's a security tool, but it's a tool that's very intrusive, that in the wrong hands, Chinese hands, can be used to hurt you, to harm you. And that's exactly what's going on.
Yeah. It says, we and our service providers and business partners may link your contact or account information with your activity on and off our platform across all of your devices using your email or other login or device information. So you're basically giving them permission to just do anything with both your data and your devices.
Think of it like this. All right. So we give, when you use TikTok, most people give, can we access your location? Most people will say yes. All right.
Yeah.
So you've got an important job someplace. Now, TikTok is tracking your location throughout, wherever you go. And say that you're cheating on your spouse. TikTok's able to see that hotel you're going to, that you're only staying there 3 to 4 hours. It's able to see stuff like that. Say that, and it's not just that. Say that you've got a substance abuse issue. That program is able to see the neighborhoods you're traveling to, or where you're going to pick up that substance, how long you're staying there. All these illicit activities that you're doing, you're actually being tracked across the board. And you've got a nation state that's gathering that data.
Blackmail
all of a sudden. Hey, do you want this stuff publicized? Well, then we need you to help us.
And see, that just made me think of that aspect of it. Yeah, I didn't even think of that before.
I mean, this is the stuff.
And they do that.
They do that. This shit actually happens.
Yeah.
So
senators, all that.
Do you want to destroy your family? Do you want to destroy your life? Do you want to get in all this trouble and go to prison or what have you? Then you need to help us.
Yeah.
And we'll pay you on top of it.
Yeah. It's crazy all the people that they've turned, man.
Yeah.
I mean, ex-CIA, NSA, all of it. All the top levels of our government, they have turned and they've bought data from.
Exactly.
Have drop sites like you see in all the old Russian spy stuff.
I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, we are, because of our view of privacy, which is non-existent in the United States. I mean, I think we're finally starting to come to a realization the problem that we have with privacy here in the U.S.
Yeah,
it's been a long time coming, man. A long
time. Yeah,
it
has. I wish we had better laws like the EU and UK and all of them have.
Yeah, but we don't, and I don't know if we're going to get it with all the lobbyists that are out there. I'm sure you watched some of those damn crypto hearings in Congress.
Oh yeah,
and you had a bunch of idiots. They had no idea what the hell they were talking. The senators and House, they had no idea what the hell they were talking about.
Yeah,
they didn't understand it at all, and we have to rely on these people to come in with proper regulation across the board. And
it's still the Wild West and the whole crypto thing.
Yeah. All right, Justin, we're gonna call it there, man. I got to head to Atlanta, flying out to Hawaii tomorrow.
Jealous.
Well, I get to see a volcano. I'm looking forward to that. Other than that, hey, it's balls to the wall working with AARP most of the week.
Yeah.
But look up Yuri, okay? And show. I think it'd be a really good conversation because I've been wanting to talk about him.
Yeah,
just looking for somebody that knows about Yuri Bezmenov.
This other guy too has a great story, man. Like
look him up and send me his name. I'll try to get his ass on here with us. Okay.
Okay.
Like that. All right.
Yeah, I'm sure Danny could hook it up for sure, and Lex as well.
You're right. I can reach out to Danny and find out who that some bitch. I find out who that guy is. I was about to say find out who that some bitch is. But I can reach out to Danny and find out who that gentleman
now,
is.
But he used to be one.
Look, Justin, it's been an absolute pleasure having you back on, man.
Hell yeah, man. I love it. I love
All
it
right.
every time. It's great.
Keep the faith. What do we say? Stay safe, stay secure, stay vigilant. At the end of the day, just do the right damn thing. This is Brett Johnson Show. I've had this outstanding guest, Justin Pierce, on today. You'll notice he absolutely talked more than he did last time.
Maybe didn't rock my chair as much.
Hey, I forgot about that shit. All right, look, I'll talk to you next time, Justin. Everybody's watching. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Pay attention to the talk. All right. It's we've joked around some about it today, but it's a program that really is not beneficial to any American at all. So please find a different platform. They are out there now. YouTube's coming on strong with their shorts. So I would advise you to use that instead. All right. Until next time, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.